What's going on, guys? This is Arn from Evenant, and in this video I want to show you how to create cinematic deep pulses in Serum just like this. So, the first thing I want to look at is the anatomy of a couple of these presets and what's going on, and then I want to go to an initialized Serum preset and start from scratch and create some of these sounds. So everything you hear in this demo is from our upcoming Composer Master Tools, which will have hundreds of cinematic synth presets for Serum and Diva, and thousands of sound design and samples created from Joshua Crispin, aka Genidine. You can download a free taster kit in the link in the description, both with Serum presets, Diva presets, and samples. But I want to show you how you can take some of these presets and tweak them to your own liking and create more sounds based on these starting points, as well as how you can actually get started creating your own sounds from scratch. So the first thing we can do is to open up a Serum instance, and I'll show you one of the presets from our Composer Master Tools taster kit. Let's go to this pulse called Delta. We'll go over here a bit faster. This one you can see has two different wavetables. We've got the sub oscillator with the noise oscillator, and then we have an LFO here, which is controlling quite a few parameters in this synth. It's controlling the levels of all the oscillators and the cutoff frequency here. If I right click, I can see all of the different parameters that I'm controlling with this LFO. So whatever I'm playing here, if I'm taking this off, bypassing all designations, it's essentially just a sustained synth. So this is actually like the core sound that's happening, and then I have an LFO that is modulating different parameters that's giving us the pluck sound. So what I like to do is I like to set up the general framework, which is the different oscillators, and then the LFO that's controlling these oscillators. And then I like to experiment with different wavetables, different ways of controlling different warp and bend effects and the asymmetry and everything in these, as well as the wavetable positions, because it's going to give us more of a characteristic sound. I'll show you that in a second. So let's simply start from scratch, and then we'll try create a very basic sound. So let's go to initialize preset. All right, I want to open up the B oscillator as well, activate that, maybe put it to unison, make it a little bit fatter. Maybe I take this one an octave down. Already a kind of super soy bass sound. I might also activate the sub. I'll keep that a sine wave as well. Now this is not a pluck yet, so the first thing I want to do is create a pulsing LFO. So I'm going to set this to 16th note. And then nothing is happening yet because I haven't assigned the LFO to any of the parameters. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So I'm dragging it onto the level here, and you can see this blue line is the range that's being affected. And the starting point is, where the knob is set to. So the starting point, I want that to be kind of all the way down, and I want this to go all the way up and down again. So when this is at the peak, the oscillator is at the peak, and when this is all the way down, it's all the way down. So now I have something that's more like a pulse, but I also want to automate this low cut filter. I'm going to drag this on here. And now the filter is actually just applied to oscillator A. So I want to make sure that it applies to actually all of the oscillators here. So now let's see if I just mess around with some of the settings here to just get something that's a little bit closer. And another thing I want to do is I want to add this to the sub as well, because you can hear that it's just playing the whole time. So just want to make the pulse a bit tighter. Now we have a very rudimentary pulse sound. Now what you can do, and something that we've done in the upcoming Composer Master Tools, that we've saved these kind of shells of sounds, because this is kind of the basic settings you will start with in any sound of this nature. and then you can save these as a template or a preset for building more plucks. And another thing you can do is, of course, to open up an existing pulse or pluck sound and then kind of tweak the different waveforms and create different variations based on that. So that's just a little thing that we can do. But I just want to move on and start experimenting now with making this a little bit more interesting. So the first thing we can do is play around with different waveforms. I kind of like this one. That's kind of interesting. So what I also like to do with these LFOs is to not just have one level of automation, because now we just have the cycling pluck, but I also like to have something that is kind of evolving over time and opening and closing. Maybe the filter, maybe it's changing the wavetable position. So I want to set this to maybe 2 bars, and this is going to be very slow. And then I want to maybe go to the wavetable position. If I take these away, you can hear how this is now affecting the sound in a different way and causing it to warp and change over time. I could set this to 4 bars as well, making it a slower development. But I actually prefer the 2 bar. It's a bit faster. So I can do this as well and go to the sync and try a few different of these warping settings here. Now see, this is too much, so that's when I want to maybe dial this down a little bit. I like what's happening in this range here. Now let's try to do something similar here as well, but I want to take LFO1 and maybe see what happens if I affect the wavetable position. Not exactly what I'm looking for, so I'm just going to bypass that for now. Let's put this to bend. That's kind of interesting. So the steeper the curve you make on the LFO, the more snappy the sound is going to be. So it's up to you how, like, what kind of sound you actually want. Now, another thing that you can do that makes these plucks a little bit more tense and a little bit more interesting to me is that you can create a third LFO that's going to control the pitch of one of the more of the oscillators. So I'm going to hold shift, and I'm going to drag this. I'm going to create just slight little fluctuations in this pitch here, maybe making it go up a little bit towards the end here. And then I'm going to drag this onto the fine tuning or the coarse of these two. Let's start with the fine tuning. I feel this is too much right now though. And let's add this to the course. So the chorus one is really good if you're trying to actually kind of create different like arpeggiated notes. I'm just gonna add in random ones so you see. Of course, these are just completely random right now, but you can use this to create little, you know, melodic motifs almost in your track. Let's try it here. So now, you know, you can start playing around, you can save any presets and patches and sounds that you'd like, and then you can just keep going through different wave tables and see if you find any new combinations that you enjoy. This is an interesting one, and from here as well, you can start dragging this to different parameters and just stumble upon some happy accidents sometimes. Another thing that I really recommend playing with is the macros. So here I can drag this to the cutoff frequency. And I can further modulate that as I'm recording and creating automations in my DAW. I can also, you know, attach this to any other of these parameters so I can warp the sound a bit further. So this can give you more variations of each sound and give you more ability to automate them and make them more interesting in your tracks. Another thing you can do is to create more tense, atonal, or dissonant effects by taking things down, say, by a semitone and up an octave. Now we set this to coarse, so let me take this away and show you another thing you can do with these. I bypass all destinations. I'm just gonna go back to, let me see, just gonna do a little bit of variation here. I'm gonna set it to just the fine tuning, and you're just gonna get a little bit of kind of an analog warble to it. Just a little bit of like pitch modulation, which I really enjoy on most of these sounds, just makes it feel less static. You can do this with low deep pulses or higher tension pulses as well. And the cool thing you see is that even if I'm playing around with different wavetables now, once I've set these macros to control the bend, the wavetable position, and so on, I can actually get happy accidents like this. And then I can save this sound and keep working and then try to create something in a different key, maybe change the wavetables altogether. I can even go on random, you know, and see what happens if I take this down 1 semitone, this up an octave, changes to this, maybe change this mode to bend minus this time. And already have another cool sound. And I haven't even started with the effects yet. Like we could add some distortion. And again, we can use this LFO to change the distortion amount and drive. And again, we could use a macro to control this as well. We could add some, do a little bit of maybe hyper dimension. Let's put in a little bit of a space. So you can have fun and play around with this and just play around with a bunch of different wavetables, and you'll see that you'll come across a lot of different happy accidents. So these are some of the basics of how you can actually create cinematic pulsing, ticking sounds, whether they're high or they're dissonant or they're melodic or just deep bass pulses. And yeah, I hope you'll enjoy playing around with this. I really recommend downloading the presets from the Composer Master Tools Taster Kit, and definitely check out the full kit once it's out next month in June. I know you're gonna love it. It's absolutely packed with incredible sound design by Generdyne and a lot of synth presets like this that you can take then and keep developing more of your own sounds from there, which is one of the main things I really like with Serum and that I like with buying or designing Serum presets and using Serum presets, because it's very easy to take those further and turn them into your own kind of sounds compared to a designated sample library in Kontakt that only has specific sounds and you can't really change a lot of them from the ground up. Like here we can actually change up the underlying LFO, wavetables and such very easily, and that's something I really like and something that really helps it make it easy to create your own unique sounds. So that's a quick little tutorial for now. Check out the kit in the link in the description and enjoy.